Here's how you do a stitch-in shoe. I'm just doing a demonstration here, so I have a piece of cardboard with holes punched out, copying the holes from the pattern, and then this is the upper that I'm using, and it has the whole stitching holes all around it, and I've cut little snips between the stitches so that as this gets stitched down, it doesn't gather. Instead, it will lay flat. So how you do this, and usually you would have maybe a vegetable tan upper sole and then maybe a rubber bottom sole. So if you have something thick like that, you need to use the stitching awl instead of 2 needles. So with the stitching awl, I'm going down into the first hole at the toe area in both the upper and the sole, and then I find that non-groove side of my needle and bring that thread to the back side to serve as the bobbin thread and kind of even them out. And then I go into the next hole in both layers, feel which is the non-grooved side, bring that bobbin thread through there. If this seems too kind of fast for you, I have a video on using the stitching awl that you can see on my blog. So the next hole and the non-groove side, now stitch number 3, and making sure I don't miss any in either sole or upper. So it's starting to gather in the toe area. And then stitch number 4. So I'm bringing that bobbin thread through the non-groove side, bring it up. After I've done 4 stitches, then I'm going to pull the stitching awl out and thread it with a new thread. So I have the thread in the stitching awl, and now I'll go in the other direction. But I do start in that same stitching hole that I started in the last time, so we don't leave any stitching holes unstitched. Even out the threads, and then I'm going to go to the second hole in this direction from the outer side of the shoe, pull back. Now I can tell this is the non-groove side. Give a good tug, make sure that the join of the 2 threads is not at the top or the bottom, but in the middle somewhere. And stitch number 3. Stitch number 4. After stitch number 4, I'm actually going to keep going. I'll do 4 stitches in this direction so that it continues as catching up and then going ahead. So I'm catching up with 4 stitches and then moving ahead 4 stitches on this side. So when I have 8 stitches in this direction, so I've done number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After about 8 stitches, you don't put those snips in anymore. Then it starts to be straight away. It's not curved like it is in the toe. so you don't need snips. So after I've gone the 8 stitches in that direction, I come back, rethread my stitching awl. Every time I rethread it, I go through the non-groove side. So that is important. And then I take up again over on this side, so it's starting to kind of fold in on me, the toe area, but I can still reach here to make a stitch. Give it a tug, and so this will be stitch 6 on this side. Then I'll do 7 and 8, but you can see that the shoe is forming in the toe area, and there's a little bit of the sole that shows beyond it. So I'll come back when I've stitched along the side and show you how that progresses. Here's a stitch-in shoe that I'm making. I have a lot of white leather in just about the right weight, so it's nice leather, but you know, I don't really have much of a need for white shoes. So I decided to do a little rubber stamp pattern on the white leather, so it would be darker and more colorful. So I just did a little art gum eraser, and then I used permanent ink pad and started making my pattern all over the shoe, but saved a few places where I could put other colors in, and so use a different stamp. And so I've already done the toe in this shoe. I've already stitched it in, and also I put a toe box in there. And so I kept it very wet while I was stitching in that area, so that it would be, you know, almost limp. And then once I got stitched past that area and I wanted to take a break, I put a last in there for the wet toe box to dry on, and then it took that nice shape. As I said, you might experiment with shoe trees and see whether you can get one that makes a nice toe shape if you don't have lasts. So here I'm stitching along the side, and this is a vegetable tan leather sole, so I've got 2 pieces of veg tan here cemented together so that the top has the grain, that is, it's not sueded on the top or on the bottom. So it's 2 pieces together. I have a heel on this stitch-in flat made from recycled tire, and I made a slit in it with an X-Acto knife so that when I stitch through the heel I can seat the stitches down in that groove, and so they won't be getting the wear that they would if they were on the surface. So I would go in the next stitch, and then I aim for the groove, pull the needle back, bring the bobbin thread through, and then when I pull back, that stitch gets seated down inside. One thing you want to make sure is that you don't have a thread going over across the front of that heel, that will get worn down pretty quickly. So you have to either stop and then start up again here, or sometimes I can kind of wiggle the needle through so that my next stitch is not over that edge but back hidden inside the heel. Here's the completed stitch-in shoe. You can see that it's got vegetable tan sole all around it. It might look good if that were in black too, to go with this upper, but the natural, I think, always looks good. And so you can have different treatments here at the back of the heel. You could just stitch up that seam. You wait to do that heel seam. It's the last thing that you do. It could just be couched. It could be like, I'm going to show you on this moccasin. This moccasin has 2 heel seams offset. So you could have this one piece back here that kind of flaps down, and then after you've sewn all the pieces to the sole, then you can fold that heel seam up and stitch it twice. The heel part could be of something of different color. It could be decorated. It could be embellished. That would be fun. Here I started wishing that I had just on my pattern made this inside piece curve like that and overlap it and stitch it down. And so then I thought I'd make something kind of like that with the red, and then the red looked kind of raw, so I put the piping around the edge of it. And so, that's fine. The next time I'll think ahead and try it with the overlapping flap.